Yo, what's up, my friends? Welcome back to
the Nerd Guys Podcast. It's your boy Kitsune Sai.
And your boy Jamie Shadow 9.
And I know I'm all loud up in your ear. I know, trust me, I know I'm super close up on the mic, but y'all can't do nothing about it. Actually, you could. But please don't skip the video. We need the views, we need the likes, we need the comments, we need the subscribes. But man, we have a doozy of an episode for y'all today. We say that all the time, but this is something that's more akin to my heart. Like, this is a franchise that I've loved ever since I was a kid. And I don't know if you all understand, but you all are about to get a big piece of me. This is like a huge chunk of my personality, a huge chunk of my childhood. As much as, you know, Super Sentai is a big part of Jamie's childhood and, you know, his personality. Whenever it comes down to the topic that we have today, it's always great because I sit back and I talk to Jamie for, you know, hours on end about this topic. Even though I'm no expert, I'm just a big fan of the franchise, and we literally go back and forth. I'm hoping, much like he wants to do with me in Super Sentai, I can get him to sit down and watch at least one season with me at some point. Maybe in the Hangouts, in the Discord.
Tell me when are we doing this? Cause I want to. I would like to. I mean, for real though, like it's a little hard setting up Hangouts, to be honest, but I'm trying my best, guys. Trying. It's mildly working. Mildly.
I mean, bro, it's your Discord. Like, I get up there to help. If you need anything, you gotta let me know what you need help with.
It's not that I need help. I just need to be better about my sleeping. That's all. But it's working. We're getting there.
Chat, he needs help.
We're getting there. We're working on it. And
my fellow nerd guys and gals out there, he needs help.
Yeah.
My nerd people, he needs help. Let me get a hashtag Jamie needs help.
Hashtag Jamie needs help.
In the comments below.
Hashtag like, Jamie needs sleep. Listen, I be working real hard on stuff for you guys, and sometimes I don't stop. I do take breaks. Don't worry, I take breaks. But I get so into like something that I'm doing that like it kind of goes over, and then by the time that I look over, I'm like, ah, crap.
Gotta understand the importance of work-life balance, my friend. I was about to say, my boy.
Listen, it's working because I'm taking I've taken a lot of advice from a bunch of people that I actually watch, where you know you take the breaks that you need, you don't work yourself to the bone, and you enjoy the things that you're working on. So like I'm keeping that balance, and like in that I'm trying to like continually push back the time that I'm like staying up to, so that way I can go to sleep earlier. Like last night I actually got some good sleep, and I woke up at 10 o'clock today, so proud of myself.
That's a step in the right direction. And the more you get out and do things, the more energy you'll burn, the more you'll get back on that schedule.
Yeah, we're working on that part. that's coming along as well. But shall we get started?
I gotta say this, and then we can get started. But I definitely understand. It's when you're an introvert, it's way more fun and way easier to get stuff done midnight through 4 a.m. when there's no traffic outside Everybody in your house is asleep. No one to bother you. It's nice and quiet. No one to bother you. You don't have to go out. No one to bother you. It's peaceful. And there's no one to bother you. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's get started. My tangent's over.
So, today we're talking about
Digimon, Digimon. No, I'm not going to sit here and do the whole rap, but yeah, we're talking about Digimon.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Digimon because I grew up watching Pokemon, and then I grew up watching Digimon as well. But Digimon didn't really stick as much as Pokemon did. I did like it a lot, though. I do remember liking it a lot. I just never really got to like continue following it. But I never really was against Digimon. I thought Digimon was all real cool.
That's the funny part, because as much as I like Pokemon, I was always more into the Digimon anime than Pokemon anime. But when it came to video games, I always chose Pokemon over Digimon just because it was like more easily accessible.
I think that's the same thing for me, to be honest, because like I really liked the Digimon anime, and I think it was just like you said, like for me, I really got encapsulated in the games of Pokemon. So like the anime I liked, but I stopped watching the anime around Diamond and Pearl.
Yeah, it was the last time I really watched it, because the Sinnoh region was kind of like the pinnacle, but everything else after just kind of like felt like a cheap repeat of the 4 seasons prior. Everything started to become kind of stale, and still proceeds to feel kind of stale. But with Digimon, it felt like something fresh every single time.
I think Pokemon is now showing its strength with its new anime with the Journey Adventures or Journey, whatever it's called.
I still have to check that out.
So, you know, it looks good, and like, you know, finally an anime that doesn't feature Ash, and it actually looks kind of cool.
You know what? They might have learned something from Digimon, because every new series of Digimon had a different protagonist or a different set of protagonists. Alright, you all heard us give our opening thoughts. We should start calling that segment opening thoughts. There you go. We gave our opening remarks, opening thoughts, as if this is a trial. Maybe that's what it should be called. Maybe we should call it Nerd Guys Trials, or Nerd Court. Trial by Nerd Guys. Trial by fire, something completely different. That's when you like watching the world burn, but you know, to learn a lesson. Trial by nerd trial. There you go, nerd trials. Boom. See, this is how we come up with the heat for y'all. But now that we've done the opening remarks in our nerd trials, Jamie's going to get started with the history.
All right. So the history goes as follows. Digimon was originally created by Bandai as a masculine version of Tamagotchi virtual tech. So, and that when I think about it in the context, like Tamagotchis were more advertised towards young girls or young girl adults.
Yeah, usually like the adolescents to teenage women, girls. So yeah, it was like, oh my god, that virtual pet that you can have, sort of like, for those of you who remember, like my nerds out there, before you had all the apps that let you do the virtual pet thing where you could, you know, have a pet, or before you had like Nintendogs or Nintendo cats, stuff like that, you had Tamagotchis, which were a virtual pet that you had to feed, put to sleep, bathe, and ultimately take care of. And it was a smash hit. A group of people came together, and I know that Jamie's the one doing the history, but I'm gonna, you know, just jump in. A group of people came up with the idea, well actually Bandai came up with the idea of, hey, what if we made these things fight? And when they made them like fight, they were like, oh, these are like Tamagotchis that fight. We should market these to young boys because guys like violence and action and hitting stuff.
Indeed, I do. I like Zelda, so I mean, that doesn't tell you what I. But also the original toy launched June 1997, so they really were serious about making this masculine Tamagotchi.
Yes, by they, Jamie's talking about Akiyoshi Hongo, which was a pseudonym that combined all the names of the groups of people that helped actually create the Digimon ethos.
Indeed. And
I'm laughing because I'm like, are you just gonna keep saying indeed every single time you come back on the mic? Makes me think of Fairly Odd Parents, where Timmy's dad was doing the oh yeah, indeed.
in February 1998, the Digimon fighting game, which became compatible with Windows 95 and had been developed by Rapture Technologies, this game was announced in 1997 via this one-shot manga called Come On, Digimon, designed by Tanya Yanbono, which had been published in the Japanese magazine V-Jump.
I'm sorry, I just get the ring, like the Rengoku, oh my, like every single time, because in my head, I'm like, in the Japanese magazine, V-Jump. And I do like the whole pose. You all can't see it, but I'm sitting here doing like the stupid poses and whatnot. I'm like, V-Jump, Frankie. Where my One Piece nerds at?
Right here. 6 months after the original Virtual Pet appeared on the scene, a second generation of Virtual Pet would be born. The second generation V-Pet would allow young Destins to connect and battle against one another.
That was like one of the biggest points though, like, and we're talking about before you had the whole Pokemon, hey, you can battle against your friends.
Actually, I looked into that.
Actually,
I did look into that.
Actually, that's a callback to FC stream from last night, but
I looked into that. It seems as though these things were going around the same time, because I couldn't find anything that was conclusive to say that like one came before the other.
Actually, Jamie's right. So the way that the story goes, like if you're wondering like Pokemon versus Digimon, like which one came first, I was watching a good video. I'll make sure I link it below, but I was watching a video by the Crunchyroll team going over, you know, the history of Digimon, obviously. And apparently Digimon came out after Pokemon. So yeah, the Pokemon franchise did come out first, but Tamagotchi pets were like all the rage thing. So exactly, no, Digimon did not copy Pokemon per se, but they had similar ideas, because the Red and Green, if I remember correctly, Pokemon Red and Green came out first, and then the Digimon virtual pets or virtual fighters, whatever you want to call them, came out. Both let you do the whole battle against friends thing, but They did them slightly different. One, you had to have like a cord or a cable, like the special expensive add-on piece for your Game Boy Pokemon to battle against friends and trade. The other was like a peer-to-peer connection. You just touch devices, and you all could see the stupid face that I made, but you all touch devices, and that allowed you to fight. But you could also fight solo and train your pet up as well.
Which I found that really interesting when I looked into it, because I was curious. I was like, okay, well, when I was reading it, it was like it was very innovative at the time, and I was like, okay, but I know that Pokemon did the trading and battling as well, and I was like, okay, well, let's see, and it's about the same years that they did them, so I was like, okay, but when I thought about it, I'm like, well, if it's the virtual pet doing the that type of connection, then yes, by that standard, Digimon did the kind of wireless connection first. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, and that's why it was so cool, because although you didn't technically have wires, you still had to physically have the same devices and like touch them. I'm pretty sure it was like something more complicated. I never had one. I just saw the like videos and the commercials, and the kids are like, oh yeah, let's Digimon battle, and they like touch their my brain's blanking and I'm looking right at it, but they just touch the devices. There you go. And I'm assuming there was some type of metal prong or something that connected the two, because if I'm not mistaken, Bluetooth wasn't even really a thing at this time. So exactly, it was more of like a peer-to-peer thing. So even though there were no wires, they were still connected.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. Like that's just so interesting. Now, while this small device would bring joy to most Japanese children at the time, that could not be said about for their parents and teachers. The VPET was banned from some Asian schools, and the parents and teachers deemed the device loud and violent.
I mean, it depends. Like, womp womp. That's all I have to say to that.
I was gonna say, like, isn't this like, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that can relate to this, because like if you play anything, like if you play Digimon, you might know this. If you play Pokemon, you know this. You play Yu-Gi-Oh, one way or another, one of your favorite card game, board game, or whatever was banned in your school or in your household because it was too violent or too demonic or something of that accord.
Bruh, that was me. I went to a Christian school and I collected Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Oh my god. I made the mistake of taking those to school one day. Almost got them confiscated, especially since I had a card in my deck that was titled Volcanic Devil. And man, oh man, did people flip over this stuff. Like, teachers flipped over the slightest thing. When it was cards, you all aren't paying attention. When it was handheld video games, you can't bring those to class. When the iPod Touch came out, or iPods in general, you all aren't listening. And I know right now I'm making the point of, hey, you weren't listening. But if it was nothing going on, aka you did all your work and you're sitting there waiting for the next lesson, I have to occupy myself. And when cell phones came out, it was over. Like, I feel bad for teachers nowadays. Like, 7-second attention spans. I'm only gonna.
Yeah. I'm gonna just put a pin in that and just say, like, listen, man, it's so funny how each generation has something that they grow up with that's, oh my god, it's bad, you shouldn't do it. And it's like, but if it's not hurting them or their education or affecting how they learn, I mean,
for my older sibling, it was rap. For us, it was like baggy jeans, sagging pants. For our parents, it was like disco, because disco was apparently disco and rock and roll, because those were apparently like the devil's music. It's always something, and it usually comes from a place of, to quote Will Smith, parents just don't understand.
Yeah, it's always a non-understanding thing. Like truthfully, we're human. We can't understand everything, but that doesn't mean that we can't try. You know what I mean?
We're young. We're into yeeting and skirting. Skirt.
Yo, you said yeet. I love it.
It's an SNL skit. If you don't know, I'll show you the skit later. But yes, for those of you who know, you know.
Now, at the time of Digimon's creation, there was a big interest in American comics, which helped spur its creation. These cool and strong creatures would reach 279 unique creatures in the year 2000, which was more than the cool and strong creatures that were in Pokemon by 28 unique creatures.
That was the hardest bar I think I ever heard. You rhyme creatures, with features, then sneakers, and back to creatures. That's some Eminem bars right there, bro. Yeah, so that was the cool thing. Like, Digimon had 279 characters. Pokemon didn't have that many. They were in like the hundreds.
They were at 251 at the time of 2000.
And Digimon was like, hold my beer.
Yeah, I had to go and look that up because I was like, okay, well, I don't necessarily remember how many we had by Gen 2. But I was like, I knew it was in like the 200s. And like my brain said 251, but I wasn't sure. I was like, I'm not sure it's not 252 because whatever. But yeah, 28 unique creatures Digimon created over Pokemon, and that kind of shows the level. Like both of these franchises made like amazing, little creatures that shoot fire and bullets out of their, body parts.
I was just about to say, you mean Gun Dragon?
Oh my god, we're talking about Pal World.
Yeah, the OG Pal World.
We just made so many people mad.
Oh my gosh. I was about to say, if anybody should be upset, it should be Pokemon. It should be Bandai and Pokemon Company and Nintendo. But technically, you know what? I'll save that conversation for another episode.
Yeah. So, the history of Digimon is so fascinating because, like I said, I grew up watching, well, at the time we just knew it as the Digimon cartoon because,
Yeah, we didn't really know anything about manga. But speaking of the Digimon anime, now my turn to tell you all about a great story that happened in a universe far, far away at a random time and place. The scene is Tokyo, Japan. Dark room, bedroom, children are asleep. An egg hatches. And then what emerged from it was something spectacular and weird. A pink little creature that had ears like rabbit, but teeth like what you would imagine a demon, super sharp. The two young children that happened to be in this room, Taichi Yagami and his younger sister, Hikari Yagami, looked confused. Well, Tai did at least. They were trying to figure out what the heck this creature is. And then the thing spoke and was like, I'm Kuramon. After a while, another Digi-Egg appeared in Tokyo. It hatched, and I forget what the thing was called. It looked like a parrot, so I'm calling it Parrotmon. But boom, it started wrecking buildings in Tokyo like it was freaking Godzilla or some other kaiju. I mean, when I say wrecking, it was taking out floors, it was taking out crosswalks, it was taking out monorails, everything. And our pal Kuramon sprang into action. He started fighting. I'm gonna call him Parrotmon, so don't flame me in the comments. But Kuramon started fighting Parrotmon. It was a fierce battle. Mind you, the flippin' parrot was the size of a kaiju. And Kuramon was this itty bitty little thing that was probably the size of a common house cat. He jumped out the window, did his little bubble blast. Didn't do anything but piss Parrotmon off. So Parrotmon smacks him. Kuramon goes flying. Super injured, hurt. These two adolescent children somehow find their way down to the street where all this is going on. And they, go through the whole, get up, Kuramon, you have to get up. Kairi had a fever, she was actually sick. She's blowing this little whistle, and it's like, come on, Kuramon, no. Taichi's yelling, Tai's yelling. Bruh, the craziest thing happens. This tiny little pink ball with rabbit ears and demon teeth transforms into this slightly larger, but not quite kaiju level status dinosaur. And you all know exactly where this is going. Kuramon Digivolved to Kumon, where he started fighting Parrotmon and, hitting him with the super breath. Which, again, didn't really do anything, but pissed Parrotmon off. Parrotmon, gives Agumon, the paws. He puts the wings on him, hits him with the double skibbity pat, and pat, 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 pat. They're fighting through downtown Tokyo, still wrecking stuff, crushing people's cars and whatnot. As all animes, Agumon gets his ass handed to him. He's down on the ground, and Tai and Kairi are both like, Tai's like, Agumon, no! Kairi's blowing her whistle. That's my sad attempt at a whistle, but... And then the miraculous happens again. It transforms again. And Agumon now goes from slightly average, probably elephant size, or maybe a little bit, maybe what we imagine T-Rex sizes to be, dinosaur, to giant flippin' kaiju. Agumon Digivolve to Greymon. And my boy, when I tell you, this even bigger dinosaur with horns on his head, like 3 different horns, starts giving Parrotmon the work. Oh my god. He hit him with a couple, I think they're called Nova Blasts, where he just like, it was basically like Peter Griffin versus the chicken. They were just fighting. Like, Greymon was giving him that work. Ultimately, Greymon wins because he's the hero. Parrotmon loses because he's the villain. And Parrotmon turns into a Digi-Egg. Greymon turns back into Koromon and starts disappearing, you know, the whole data thing whooshing away, and Kairi and Ty are like, no, you can't go, and Koromon's like, don't worry, you'll see me again. All of this was forgotten by them because they were so young. This was like one of those, I guess, traumatic experiences that your brain just represses the older you get. A couple years later, Ty and 6 other kids would attend a summer camp. While they were at the camp, weird things happened. One anomaly in particular, it started snowing. Like blizzard status in the middle of the summer. In the midst of this snowing, in the midst of the snow being on the ground, like they just experienced a blizzard. And they woke up the next morning to snow. They would walk around outside, you know, trying to figure out what the heck was going on, because it's like July. And these glowing lights, you know, fell down from the sky. Each one of these 6 kids grabbed them, and that was it. They were transported to the digital world. This would be the beginning of what we know as the Digimon Adventure 01 anime. The franchise that started it all for the US and actually most of the other world. This one anime would be the thing that made a lot of us in the Western world, did I say it right? The Western world? Yeah. Fans of this anime. I'm just going to keep rolling. So, season 1. The main characters, we have Tai, Sora, Mimi, Joe, Izzy, Matt's little brother, TK, and Ty's little sister, Kari. Yes, I said season 1. Technically, it was series 1. But if I remember correctly, there were a couple series for the original Digimon Adventure. Now, each one of them had a partner. Tai had Agumon, Sora had Biyomon, Mimi had Palmon. Where my Pal World fans at? Joe had Gomamon, Izzy had Tentamon, Matt had Gabumon, TK had Patamon, and Kari got arguably probably one of the best ones in my opinion, but got Gatomon. These were their partners. About midway through the series, they all got what are known as crests, and these were the plot devices that let the Digimon digivolve to the next stage over their champion form. So for Agumon, it let him go over Greymon. For Gabumon, it let him go over Garurumon. And for Biyomon, it let her go over Birdramon, so on and so forth. These plot devices would go as follows. Tai got the Crest of Courage, which meant he had to exhibit an act of courage to get Greymon to digivolve. Sora had the Crest of Love. Mimi had the Crest of Sincerity. Joe, the Crest of Reliability. Izzy, the Crest of Knowledge. Mans was wicked smart. He was like a crazy world programmer at like the age of 12 or 13. Matt got the Crest of Friendship, even though he was the man. Super cool, standoffish. TK got the Crest of Hope because, you know, he was a little kid. Little kids have nothing but hope. And Kari got the Crest of Light because Kari was the Kyrie of this franchise. Untainted. Each one of the Digimon had a specific power and ability. And they were pretty crazy. Like, let's get this straight. All Digimon have the ability to Digivolve. You with me?
Yeah, I'm following you.
Alright, so this is like Lesson Time with Ty. Ironically enough, that was a pseudonym of mine back in the day. But Lesson Time with Kitsune Sai. All Digimon have the ability to Digivolve, but they each get special moves. So much like in Pokemon, where each Pokemon has a signature move of sort, Digimon have the same thing. So for Agumon, that was his breath. Biyomon had the Spiral Twister, where she would like flap her wings and it would make like a mystical green fire tornado swirl. Palmon had Poison Ivy. Poison Ivy was literally like Vine Whip. That's all it really was. It was Vine Whip. So the vines that were her fingers would grow, and she'd basically throw them at you as they stretched out of her hands and let her like hook on. She was like doing this type of Spider-Man thing. Gomamon had Marching Fishes, which actually saved the team as they were going up like a raging river. So all that did was let Gomamon command like a bunch of fish, like a school of fish, to come together and basically make a raft. So he's like Aquaman. Tentomon has his Super Shocker, where of course, as the name implies, he generates a mad amount of electricity and fires it at you. Gabumon had his Howling Blaster, where he shoots like I always consider it like a blue flame beam, but it was more like ice apparently, according to the games. Patamon had his boom bubble, where he like just basically blew a big bubble of air at you like Aang doing airbending. And Gatomon had Lightning Ball, where, you know, as the name implies, she just swung on you.
She put the paws on him.
Facts. Through each part of a Digimon's life, they have different levels. The levels sort of represent where they are as far as like their Digivolution. So when we see like the main team's Digimon, they don't really ever reach the status of being able to hold certain Digivolutions because, you know, their energy gets used up. But in the world of like Digimon, or in the digital world I should say, you just see these Digimon randomly walking around. It's like, well, how come Bergermon can't stay Bergermon? It goes back to Biyomon plot. But their levels are in training, where they're like usually just been hatched. Then you have Rookie, which is like their pre-iconic form. So like Multimon is the only one that comes to mind, or Tokomon, like the pre-evolution of Patamon. Then you have their champion level, which is like the iconic ones. I'm hoping I'm not off by one and giving you all the wrong information, but their champion, which is like the Agumons, the Gabumons, the Patamons, Ultimates, which are like the Greymons, and actually I was off by one. Sorry. Champion is like the Greymons, the Garurumons. Ultimate is like the Metal Greymons and the Were Garurumons and the Anjumon, I think it was called, or Anjawamon. Then I'm gonna skip over 2 for now, but you would go Mega, which was like War Greymon, and Metal Garurumon, like the really strong, powerful one. And you had Ultra, which technically would be like Hercules Kabuterimon. No, Hercules Kabuterimon is Mega. It would be like Omnimon. So like that Pokemon. Oh man, I just did it. I just said it.
Uh-oh, you said the forbidden word. How dare.
I meant that Digimon. But there are 2 other evolutionary levels that are kind of evolutionary adjacent. You have Armor Digivolution and DNA Digivolution. So Armor Digivolution is sort of like in season 2 they get these things called Digi-Eggs, which also have crests on them, ironically enough. And these Digi-Eggs let the Digimon digivolve into different Digimon. So like if it was, I believe his name was Thomas, so like Vmon had 3 different Digi-Egg Digivolutions. He had I can't remember what their names are, but it was the Fire Egg, the Dark Egg, and the Golden Egg. The Golden Egg was like the holy grail, but we didn't get that until like the movie. And DNA Digivolution, which also started in Digimon Adventure 2, was basically just Digimon Fusion. So X-Vmon and Stingmon, one of my favorite combos because it made I want to say Paldramon was their name, and they had another Digivolution that let them digivolve into another one of the 13 Digi-Knights. Bruh, mad OP. And I loved it.
All right. I'm learning a whole, well, I can't say I'm learning a whole lot because I've known a lot about some of this due to friends who were interested in Digimon, and I did retain some of the stuff from the show. So like it's stuff, especially like the stuff about like the original Digidestins. I did remember like the Vine Whip attack and the blue fireball, blue ice ball. I think
it was legit just ice beam, but they were like, hey, make it look like fire.
I think Gabumon was my favorite too. I think so. I feel like that was my favorite when I was a kid. But
Gabumon was the little.
He's like white and blue.
Yeah. The one with the horn.
Then he was my favorite.
That works out great because Agumon was my favorite. And still to this day is my favorite. But that's now we won't be able to do the section. Cry.
I forgot about that. That's my bad. Digimon would go on to have several television series, and only 2 here, it looks like, are connected. So Digimon Adventure and Digimon Adventure 2. So they started off with strong with two connected storylines through two series, and then split it off to various spin-offs such as Tamers, Frontiers, Digimon Savers / Data Squad, Fusion, Adventure Tri, App Monsters, that one sounds weird, Adventures Reboot, which makes me think of the Mighty Morphin reboot, and then Digimon Ghost Game. That's a cool name.
Now, out of all of them, yes, they rebooted the original series and called it the same exact thing, Digimon Adventure. But in my opinion, and like from what I saw on the internet, most other enthusiasts of the series or fans of the series, Adventure was good. Adventure 2 was better or slightly less good depending on who you ask. Tamers was flipping phenomenal, and Frontiers freaking tastic. Those are the series that kind of, in my opinion, showcase why the Digimon anime is better than Pokemon. Because where Pokemon is like all about friendship and we're going to go get these gym badges and we're going to stop Team Rocket or whatever evil team it is. You know, I'm trigger alert, trigger warning, whatever. I'm a fan of Pokemon just like I'm a fan of Digimon. But when it comes to the anime, in my opinion, Pokemon's not touching it. The anime, especially those three anime, just kind of it.
I mean, I'm inclined to agree because, like, even while I wasn't really watching Digimon, like, I would watch episodes and, like, I've seen Tamers, and I thought Tamers was really good from some of the episodes I watched. And then, like, Frontiers, I only watched maybe a little bit of Frontiers, but I could tell from what I was watching that it was really good. And
we definitely gotta watch Frontiers and Tamers together.
I think the biggest difference between the two animes is the main characters, because like while some of you may love Ash, a lot of people don't. I'm one of them. I've never actually really liked Ash. I thought that, like, when he started, he was cool, whatever, you know, he's the protagonist, whatever. And then, like, I even say, like, up until Generation 4, I did at least like him enough to be like, oh, I can kind of get behind this guy. But after, you know, Diamond and Pearl, after he got so close to becoming the, you know, Pokemon Master, which is what we've been waiting for him to do for so long. And then we get to Black and White, which, by the way, is not a bad game and not a bad series, and has an actual pretty good story. They go, oh, he's 10 again. And to me, the fact that Digimon was able to continue, it makes me think of what we've talked about before, Power Rangers. It makes me think of that, where like instead of it being like, oh,
all roads lead back to Power Rangers.
all leads back to Power Rangers, but like it's true. The thing that separated Power Rangers from anything that was on at the time was like it's an action based and it's team based, and then after In Space. Because we gotta clarify that. After In Space, there was a different team of Power Rangers that had different villains or reoccurring villains, different story beats or revisited story beats, and that allowed the world
team-ups, a lot of team-ups.
That allowed the world to continue building, and that's the biggest thing for Pokemon as far as the anime goes, because the games expand on the world so much that like I don't think the anime was enough to contain it. Because like think about the special movies like the Lucario movie that came out for the first time, all the lore about all the like the Sinnoh Pokemon was way too much. And then like even before Lucario, we had Rayquaza versus Deoxys, which was like, you know, your Stone Cold versus The Rock match at WrestleMania.
Bruh, it's literally like Pokemon Movie 1, Mewtwo. Oh my god, I like Ash so much, especially through this movie. But when I found out that the movies weren't necessarily canon to the series, and then they were, and then I met one character, Gold. Gold is literally the gold standard Pokemon trainer. And that to me, like, I was like so excited when they did that series, and then they did like the special. Yes, this is a Digimon episode, but you know, you can't talk about Digimon without talking about Pokemon. It's just one of those yin and yang inevitable forces thing. When they did the rescue team, you know, Blue and Red, when they were doing the promotion for that, and they made like little mini series, that was also really good. And you know, the anime stuck on one protagonist for far too long. Digimon said, we're going to keep basically the same framework. A couple of kids that are Digidestined that are going to have to fight some great evil using their Digimon, and they're going to have to learn and grow with their Digimon in order to make it work and defeat this great evil, like usual manga stuff. But they were different protagonists, much like Power Rangers and Sentai and Masked Rider, especially Masked Rider. Check out our episode on that for what I'm about to say if you want some context. The previous, at least in between Adventure 1 and 2, the previous Digidestined handed off the task and passed the flame to the next generation. And although like Adventure 1 and Adventure 2 were the only two that were technically connected, when you got to Tamers, that took place in a completely different world. So like Power Rangers RPM, even though it was a part of the same, I guess you could say, Digiscape, it was the same concept, but in this world, Digimon was meta. So Digimon was an actual card game because they were trying to sell the card game at the time. So characters played the card game and battled with their Digivices, like the actual toys. But when you move over to like Frontiers, now we have another toy that we're selling. But the new Digidestined get on a train, and this train takes them to the digital world. They're not necessarily all friends at first, much like in other series, or the previous titles, with the exception of 2. In 2, they were all kind of friends already, because they all went to school together. But, you know, you have this great evil, and then you have the great good. The good brings the heroes to the Digiworld, or the Digidestined to the Digiworld. But in this one, they did a little bit different, because now the Digidestined, instead of them having Digimon that fight for them, they actually become the Digimon when they use their Digivice. They can combine their spirits, or spirits of ancient Digimon, like the original ancient Digimon, with themselves to become those Digimon. Shout out to Goonimon. Man was a whole goon.
I feel like that's super apt because that's in his name, but I love that, and I love when you said the handoff, because that's one of my favorite things that I saw in Super Sentai and Kamen Rider for the first time, And like the fact that I feel like that's a Japanese thing now that I'm getting more familiar with a lot of shit, like, because it really sounds like the more and more shows that kind of like stack up together that we're talking about, the more and more I'm like, huh.
Just to name a couple, and I'm pretty sure someone out there can name way more, but just to name a few, you got Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, technically. There was like a passing of the torch thing that happened, even though it was kind of reneged, but you know, it happened. But the main one that I know of in anime, and although much to my chagrin, I'm about to justify this, Naruto to Boruto is one of the only anime that I've seen recently that actually does the whole passing of the torch thing and continues building the world, but with a new character and a new cast.
And see, that's kind of the appeal I feel for a lot of people, because like even though Boruto's not really my thing and it's not really your thing either, I can understand the love for it, and I can understand like, because like again, you know, Digimon had that concept in it where it's like, okay, well, we've been with this team for like however many episodes, they fought the evil villain, they had their trials and tribulations, and you've grown to love them. Now the next series, you see this next Digidestin, this next hero, and you're like, I don't know who that is, and then they just slap hands. It's like, oh, excuse me, what?
And the best part about it is, and you know, I don't really care what other people say. Like, if you have a comment about it or an opinion about it, drop it in the comments. I will gladly read it. Maybe you can change my mind. But I like the way after, you know, over a decade, they kind of gave the original series, Digimon Adventure and Digimon Adventure 02, with the original cast, they kind of brought it full circle. Because technically, after Digimon Adventure 2, you have Digimon Tri, which is a series of 6 movies. And those movies show the original Digidestin as teenagers in high school, and you know, their lives of being Digidestin while almost graduating high school. But then the name escapes me. I just found out about this one doing research. The name escapes me. I don't remember where it is, but there was one final movie with the original Digidestin, and it was them as adults. And apparently it was a tearjerker because it was them as adults. And the whole premise of the movie was, this is basically one last time. Like, we're adults now. We can't really do the Digidestin thing. We kind of have to do the adult thing. And we can't have you all kind of like following us around. So we got to let you be free. Go back to the digital world. You're getting old. Like, we're growing up. You all are getting old. So it's time for you all to go back to the Digifarm, basically. And, you know, spoiler alert, at the end, they all apparently go back to the digital world, I believe. I've never seen it, but from what I saw in the research I was doing, they go and they become, you know, like most Digimon. They disappear, turn back to data, and go form a new Digi-Egg, which theoretically could be a new Digimon, which goes back to a new Digidestin. It's the old trope of, hey, we're going to let kids save the world because we messed it up. Who's going to save, or I'm sorry, our forefathers and mothers and people messed it up. Who's going to save it? It's up to the next generation. They have to figure out what's been ruined by the previous generation and fix it. Sort of like, and this is me getting a little meta right now, but in the real world, how, you know, when I say the new generation, I'm talking about myself. So like everybody that's a millennial to Gen Z to Gen Alpha, we're the ones that are battling climate change and whatnot. You know, trying to make the world a slightly better place. You know, change how we do work, change how we buy things, change how prices and whatnot work to make it a better place for everybody else. And this is kind of like one of those messages that, you know, the studio, Bandai, was trying to promote. And I rock with it. I think it's pretty cool.
I love that. I really do, because like that right there, that feeling is how I feel when I first watched Super Sentai. It was the message that was being drove home to me, like it's okay to be yourself. Like you get that when you were a kid and all that other stuff, but I feel like it's different coming from a different country where, you know, even though people are people, you know, people struggle with different things all the time, and like our world is constantly evolving and changing and growing, and like someone else's perspective on you can do it if you try hard enough.
You can do it.
Or it's okay to admit that you're not strong enough to do something, or it's okay to reach out and ask for help. It really put in the mind that like, wow, you know. And what I love about these Japanese cartoons and these Japanese shows is that they're not afraid to shy away from like telling, you know, children at a young age, you know, stuff like this happens and you might have to just deal with it, and you know, you may have to figure out some sort of path to traverse it, you know, either dealing with trauma, you know, murder, sickness. Any of these things can happen to anyone at any time in their life. And like, I'm not gonna say that, you know, our television is usually scared, but they're more like, well, kids don't need to like try to understand that yet. And like, there is a good point in that, but I do think it is healthy to kind of like get in the mind of like, it's okay to deal with certain things at a young age.
Yeah, it's like start the conversation now, take the time to explain it to your kids, and let them grow up to be the heroes of tomorrow. Now, Digimon has been a part of many media, like many forms of media. We have video games. Some video games that are notable are like the Digimon World franchise, Digimon Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory, which is like not that old, but you know, it might be coming up on 10 years now. And of course, the most recent one, Digimon Survive, which for my chagrin wasn't for me. I'm not gonna say it's a bad game, but it wasn't for me. There was like less fighting, more. They called it a visual, like, visual novel. That's exactly. Yeah, thank you. That's exactly what it was. And you know, it wasn't for me. But we also had toys. So you had the original Digimon V-Pets. You had the Digivices. We had, of course, our figures.
Shout out to SH Figure Arts on Bandai Premium, because Bandai does an amazing.
We are not sponsored.
We are not sponsored, but I have been following this website for the longest. Ever since I've learned about Kamen Rider, have I been following this website. I forgot that Digimon was on there, to be honest. I haven't been on there in a while. But I'm sorry. I did. But I know, I'm sorry. I did tell you about Premium Bandai though. I did. But their SH Figure Arts are immaculate art. And like, they're two scale, sort of, you know, action figure scale is what I mean. Wonderful detailing, great painting. Some of them are posable, so you can put them in action poses. And the best thing about them is they're high quality.
Bro, I'm definitely about to drop $130 to buy not the D3, the Digivice from Tamers and the Digivice from Frontiers, because those were both my jams. I always wanted the toy, never got a chance to get the toy, and I'm also going to get me a Ward Greymon figure because my guy, bruh, Ward Greymon, Ward Greymon, Metal Garurumon, Hercules Kabuterimon, I low-key want all of them. But yeah, you had the plushies, of course. You had the trading card game, which unfortunately never took off in the US. It's back, but it never really took off the way like Pokemon took off. However, in Japan, it was just as big as Pokemon. It's still just as big as Pokemon. But for some reason, I don't know why. Maybe it's because Pokemon is a thing here. And, you get a new game almost every, 2 to 5 years.
I think I have the answer to that, actually. Because if you remember...
he said, actually...
If you remember... Digimon had a period of time where the show just kind of disappeared, and then the games weren't really doing as good as Pokemon. So and then of course the trading card game started doing different things. They did was it EX in Hoenn? I think it was Hoenn that they started doing EXs, and then the Shadow Pokemon thing for Coliseum. So they were doing different gimmicks with the card game. So I feel that's kind of what allowed Digimon trading card game to lose traction. But now it's back.
Yeah, and it's back here. But the funny thing is, it's been big in Japan. They have Digimon trade TCG tournaments, which is weird to me because I'm bruh, I don't know how to play a Pokemon game. I don't know how to play Digimon. But I'm I feel I've never been afforded the opportunity to learn. I know there is an app, at least in the Apple App Store, that is a Digimon TCG training app, so it teaches you how to play the game. I have yet to actually go in there, and I've had this app for more than 2 years. I feel so bad, but I have yet to go in there and actually start learning how to play. But yeah, this trading card game, I always think I think it's cool because right now I have 2 packs. I have the blue pack. I don't remember what it was called, but I know it has Veemon in it. And I'll just say it now, Veemon's one of my guys. I might not have the right... You know what? I might have a different answer for that question for later. But as for manga, I'm not gonna go through all the manga. There were a lot of manga. You have the original Come On Digimon run, which was in the magazine, like we said earlier. But you also had things like Digimon Adventure V Tamer 01, Digimon Chronicles, Digimon Chronicle X, Digimon Dreamers, Digimon Liberators, Digimon Next, Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth. I didn't even know that was a manga. And Hacker's Memory was also a manga. So Digimon World Redigitized, that. This is crazy. All this manga exists out there, and I've never seen it. I guess I'll be taking a trip to Barnes & Noble tomorrow to see if I can find any on their shelves. If not, might be making a special order.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I really do. It makes me excited. I'm very excited because I've always wanted to get into Digimon, but I guess I never really had the opportunity.
If you want to get into Digimon,
yeah, no, I was.
If you want to get into Digimon, bro, we could take that journey together because, to quote, for those of you who don't know, I'm going to quote Jamie Shadow 9 from a couple years ago when I was like, you know what? I want to get better at Pokemon. To quote you, I actually want to learn more about Digimon. I've always wanted a friend to do it with, and I'm down to start playing some of the games together, watching the series together, and ultimately even learning how to play the TCG together. So we got another thing in the list of docket things to do as friends. So we got Sentai, Mask Rider, and Digimon. Boy, we need to start hanging out more. All right. Now time for our great closing section. Our Q&A. Since Jamie took it over last time, I'm going to take it over this time. Now, Jamie, being somebody that has watched a couple of the series in the franchise, what would you recommend people watch first?
I would say Digimon Adventure and Adventure 2, just because those are the ones I'm mostly familiar with. But like, you really can't go wrong with Tamers and Frontiers because they're both very good. Like I said earlier, like from the little bit that I've seen of both of them, I was like, I had a great time. And like, this is in the period of time where I was watching Pokemon, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Yu-Gi-Oh, the list goes on. So like, for me to watch a little bit of Digimon, I'm like, why isn't there more? Like at the time I said, why isn't there more of this? And then like, I think that's when, I think it was either Frontiers or something, that like Digimon just like went silent on television. So like, I was curious back then. So yeah, I would definitely have been, either the original or start with Tamers, because like it's that same feeling that I feel about like Pokemon. When if you ask me like, what Pokemon game should you play, Generation 3 or 4? I mean, sorry, not sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
For me, I'm inclined to agree, being somebody that has watched most of this. Well, I'm not going to say most of the series. I have watched all of the US versions and some of the Japanese anime counterparts. I would say, if you want to get into Digimon, I'm biased, much like Jamie. You can watch the original Digimon Adventure and Adventure 2. I'll also throw in there, if you can't really stomach Adventure, try the Adventure reboot, because it is also pretty good. I've watched like 2 or 3 episodes so far, and I like it. They changed some minor things between the two series, of course. Like, Adventure Reboot is like modernized, so they changed it for like the new people that would be watching it, but kind of sort of kept it true to the OG fans. It's still a good series.
Are there like frames around the Digidestins? Do they have bios that come up to tell you?
No. But it's relatively the same story. It's just so slightly different with better animation. I personally think if you want to get into the franchise, you go watch the Adventure reboot. That wouldn't be super bad. But if you want to like go in order, Adventure, great. The beginning of the season is a little slow. Like the first 5 or so episodes are a little slow, but after you get past like the whole Devimon arc, it really picks up. Digimon Adventure 2 wasn't the strongest, but to me, I enjoyed it because it was sort of like that passing of the torch ceremonial thing. If you really want to get into Digimon and you don't care about, watching the original series and paying homage to it, start with Tamers or Frontiers. They will set the bar very high, and, Adventure and Adventure 2 really won't stand up to them, but those are two great series. So I guess there's the answer to my question. Tamers or Frontiers? Start with one of those two. If you want to be like an OG type of person, start with Adventure and Adventure 2 or the reboot. I have some series that I want to go back and rewatch, such as Digimon Fusion, which I believe was called Digimon Cross here in the US or something like that. And I have to finish Digimon Adventure Tri. And Ghost Game is actually in my Crunchyroll, waiting for me to get to it. A couple more questions. So, who's your favorite Digidestin? Out of all the series you've watched, who's your favorite?
I think my favorite was I don't know. I can't even remember. I guess if I had to think about when I was a kid, I think I liked Tai, and then I liked funny enough, ironically, I think I liked TK too, which is kind of funny for me because I didn't like Justin in Turbo, but TK, I guess that's just the difference. I don't know.
Because he was a little kid. For me, as much as I like the original cast and the cast of Adventure 2, I have to say my favorite Digidestin or Digidestins were Takuya and Koji from Digimon Frontiers. They were basically Tai and Matt, but I don't want to be basic, so I'm going to say those two because they were, to me, a little bit more developed than the original cast was, because the original Digidestin didn't really get their super developed story until the whole Digimon Tri era. Whereas in Digimon Frontiers, the main characters had to, develop across 4 seasons.
That makes me think about how good storytelling can be when you apply it the right way and having characters, because obviously storytelling from back in the day is way different than storytelling now. And it's not like people didn't try back then. They did what they could, and a lot of times old animes, even some of the ones that we're very familiar with, like Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z and all those, they had some really good storytelling and connecting of characters and worlds and stuff like that. But as we started to really develop as a world, better storytelling came through. So going back to Frontiers, that amount of development was only enhanced by the fact that the people at the time had more access to more ideas, more concepts, and I think that says a lot, for a show like this. And it shows that the creativity of people can always evolve, and that spurs more creativity for future seasons.
The one thing that I won't compromise on is that the series was drawn better back in the early to mid 2000s. It's the only thing I won't compromise on. The art style was way better, and now everything is I don't want to say CGI because it's not CGI, but it's more digital, less hand drawn on paper first, and then that paper version is used to draw the digital version. You know, it's more soft edges versus sharp edges. The quality is better, but it's more soft and lighthearted. The art style is more soft and lighthearted and less edgy. So again, if you like edgy, Tamers is dark and edgy. If you want more lighthearted, Adventure 2 and a reboot, more lighthearted.
You know, you just reminded me of like how some people love the old sprites of Pokemon. How people are like, oh my god, Pokemon was drawn better than, and I, you know, there are some sprites that I absolutely love, but I've kind of learned to like embrace the 3D models, and like when people were saying like, oh, the 3D models of Colosseum and XD are better than the ones in Scarlet and Violet, I'm like, where are you getting this from?
Nostalgia. That's what it is. Alright. Last question. Who is your favorite Digimon?
I guess I just have to take from my childhood brain, because I really haven't had a chance to get to meet all of them, but I would say Gabumon because he was really cool. I don't know what, like, he's just this cool little dude, and I liked how he was. That was another thing about a Digimon that I liked, is that they could talk and they had their own personalities too. Like each one of them had their own personalities, which added to like, you know, the dichotomy between them and the Destins and everything.
You mean they didn't just run around shouting their names?
It makes me think of like the Super Sentai called Engine Sentai Go Onja, which is the Japanese version of RPM. The cars can...
Oh boy, I am familiar. As soon as you said it, I was like, oh, RPM.
Yeah, the cars are an actual race of people. Bro! How? And it's... And the crazy thing about it is that, like, you know, I'm not gonna say too much, but like there becomes a rivalry that happens because, you know, we have multiple vehicles. So like it's just so good, and it feels like it's so stupid that
my Hellcat's better than your GTR, which is better than your Honda Civic, which is better than your Ford Mustang, which is better than your Shelby, which is better than your Corvette, which is better than your Camaro, which is better than your Hellcat.
It's so stupid that it really shouldn't work. Like, the concept is so stupid that it really shouldn't work, but it does, and it makes you feel more inclined to be like, okay, well now I'm very invested in this. And like, that's why a lot of times, you know, in my opinion, Super Sentai trumps over Power Rangers. Sorry.
It's a fact.
But like, going back to my point about like Gabumon, like, I just really liked his personality. I liked his character. I liked the way he looked. He was just this cool little blue dude with a horn. And I also liked Agumon. I really liked Agumon, but you know, I liked T-Rexes when I was a kid. So I mean, but what kid didn't? You know what I mean? You basically had a T-Rex everywhere you went. When in school, on television, you know. That's why I learned to love Spinosauruses when I grew up.
I'm about to bring a memory back for you. So, it was like Digimon, but it was more like Pokemon. It was like Pokemon and Digimon, technically. Dinosaur King.
Oh yeah. I love Dinosaur King. I do not remember it for the life of me, but I love Dinosaur King. Dinosaur King was my joy. Also, Spider Riders. I loved me some Spider Riders. I'm so mad that show got canceled.
Remember when Disney did their own adaptation where it was like Dragon Riders or Dragon Racers or something like that, where they raced the dragons, even though they didn't fly, they were like they ran or something. But yeah, I vaguely remember it. But ironically enough, harkening back to our WWE episode, one of my favorite anime/cartoons that I used to watch, aside from Digimon, was Ultimate Muscle.
Oh my god. My mom would tell you Ultimate Muscle was my show. Like, I watched so much of that.
Hold it. We can do an episode on it. Future episode coming soon, Ultimate Muscle. We've been going on for a while. I'll end the episode this time. For me, my favorite Digi-Destiny. Oh wait, I said that. My favorite Digimon, I'm sorry. For me, my favorite Digimon, I can't even lie, I had so many. Like, my all-time favorite had to be Agumon, specifically War Greymon, because it was the first time I ever saw two Digimon, so Agumon and Gabumon, combined to make Omnimon, which was like the sickest thing that I think I had ever seen as a kid, until Agunimon, and cannot remember his name, but Takuya and Koji combined in their ultimate forms to make Susanomon, which was basically like a newer version of Omnimon. So Agumon and Gabumon are my favorite Digimon. Agumon, his evolution into War Greymon, is my favorite, all-time favorite Digimon, because War Greymon just looks so beast. Like, I can't explain it in family-friendly terms, but War Greymon is just boss status. Like,
and yes, War Greymon can be Charizard. You're welcome.
Until next time, I've been Kitsune Sai.
And I've been Jamie Shadow 9.
Don't forget to leave a comment on any episode that you want to hear. Come join the Discord, like, comment, and subscribe. Until then, we've been the Nerd Guys, and we're signing off.